Oh, hi there. About a month ago, I set out on a quest to find all the lost media associated with DC Comics. I knew there'd be a lot, but I had no idea how much there really was. There are lost movies, TV pilots, games, and even lost comic books based on some of DC's most popular characters. In my journey, I made a sobering realization that despite the massive effort of lost media communities and preservationists, there are still so many pieces of lost media that haven't even been accounted for. I realized that what can be found on the Lost Media Wiki is just the tip of the lost media iceberg. So this video will not include any canceled projects unless there are elements of production that have been lost. So no Superman Lives or various canceled DC games, only things that are genuinely lost or might be lost. This search was so extensive, I enlisted the help of my lovely wife Molly to narrate parts of the video.
Oh, hi there.
Hit me up on Twitter at LostMediaMike if there's anything I missed. And with that out of the way, here's my attempt at creating a complete list of lost media from DC Comics.
But I failed to save Jason from this life.
The 1988 Batman comic, A Death in the Family, is famous for having the second incarnation of Robin, Jason Todd, killed by the Joker. But the decision on whether or not to kill him was left up to the fans. Readers were asked in the previous issue to call a 900 number to choose if they wanted Robin to survive his encounter with the Joker or if they wanted him to die. Over 10,000 calls were made to decide Todd's fate, and in a margin of just 72 votes, the readers chose to let Robin die, resulting in the iconic A Death in the Family story we know today that has shaped the Batman character and has even been directly referenced in recent DCEU films. Since the comic's release, fans had wondered if there's an alternate version where Todd survives that was ever made just in case the vote went the other way. In 2000, in Batman Annual number 25, a page of the alternate comic was shown where Batman, holding Robin, exclaims, "He's alive," proving the existence of an alternate version of A Death in the Family. In 2020, a second unfinished page was released as part of DC's Robin Week, showing Robin recovering in the hospital after his run-in with the Joker. This appears to be all that was completed of the alternate comic, making it not lost but rather unfinished, unless there is more that DC has yet to release. Though the character we know today as Superman first appeared in Action Comics #1 in 1938, two earlier versions of the character were made. The first being the 1933 short story The Reign of the Superman, made when Superman co-creators Jerry Siegel and Joe Shuster were still in high school. This version of Superman was an ordinary man named Bill Dunn who was tricked into taking experimental drugs that give him temporary superpowers, which he uses for evil before they wear off. Though a physical copy of this early version is rare, digital copies can be found online. In between this 1933 version and the Superman we know today, the duo attempted to publish another version of the character. A deal was in the works with Consolidated Book Publishing to publish their comic book titled The Superman, but the company backed out. The duo were just months away from their high school graduation, both working mundane jobs, and the frustration of not being able to find a publisher got the best of Joe Shuster, and he tore up the comic and threw the entire work in a fire, with only the cover surviving. Both Siegel and Shuster have unclear memories of the comic, but they both agree that the character had no superpowers and was a good guy this time. Over the years, collectors have searched for any surviving copies that might have been sent to publishers, but none have ever been found. It is crazy to think that this early incarnation of one of the most iconic characters in modern history is lost forever. Jack Kirby is among the most important comic book artists of all time, being responsible for some of Marvel's most iconic characters like Captain America, Thor, Black Panther, the X-Men, and the Fantastic Four, among many others. But in 1970, Kirby felt he was being treated unfairly by Marvel and left the company for their competitors, DC Comics. During his brief tenure with DC, he created the Fourth World Saga, and in his storyline, he was tasked with drawing one of DC's most iconic characters, Superman, something Kirby was unsure about. When Kirby turned in his pages for the Fourth World Saga, DC executives were not happy with his take on Superman and had Kirby's art drawn over to give the character a more traditional look. Comic book writer and Kirby's production assistant Mark Evanier has gone on record stating that while working for DC, Kirby was told, "We want you to take our comics in a new direction. We need you to help us reinvent our line for the future." And then the first time he hands something in, the reaction is, whoa, this doesn't look like what we've been publishing. We need to bring in a guy who's been drawing Superman since the late 40s. Since Kirby's original artwork was drawn over, very little of his vision for Superman can be found today. Video Comics was a TV show that originally aired on Ohio-based cable network Cube before airing on Nickelodeon in 1979, being among the network's first programs. The show was simply read-alongs of various DC comic books, and while all the comic books read on the show can be found today, of the show's 10 episodes, only 4 have been found. Episodes on Sugar and Spike, The Swamp Thing, Hawkman, and a brief clip from the episode on The Flash, leaving episodes on the Green Lantern, Adam Strange, Doodle Duck, the Atom, the Three Musketeers, and Nutsy Squirrel completely lost.
Who will save the day? You are Superman.
The New Adventures of Superman, commonly known as Superman 64, was a 1999 video game developed by Titus Interactive for the Nintendo 64 and is known for being one of the worst video games of all time. But the game's poor quality isn't entirely the fault of Titus. The game's development was rushed, and DC Comics forced the studio to make numerous changes. Producer of the game, Eric Kane, claims the game wasn't even 10% of the team's original goal, blaming the changes on licensor Warner Brothers. A beta version of the game has been found that seems to not include DC's mandated changes, but it's unknown if there are any more beta versions yet to be uncovered, as the game's developers seem to be in a non-disclosure agreement with Warner Brothers concerning the game. Producer Eric Kane seems to back up this theory, stating, "I'm not allowed to detail what we had to remove, but it was a lot." Additionally, a PlayStation version of the game was being built from the ground up, but was cancelled near the end of its development due to Titus losing the rights to the character. Beta builds of the PlayStation version have been leaked, but just like the Nintendo 64 beta, it's unknown how much more is still yet to be found, if any.
In 1994, gaming company Ocean Software attempted to make a game based on the Green Lantern for the Super Nintendo. The game was never released, partially due to the poor management from Ocean Software and possibly due to the pressure from DC Comics or Warner Brothers. The game was meant to feature 7 levels, each on a different planet in the DC universe, with the final level being a shoot-'em-up in space. Screenshots were published in various magazines at the time, showing that the game was well into development. One developer on the game, Bobby Earl, claimed that the game was completely finished, but DC Comics wanted to change too much of the finished product, so Ocean Software decided to scrap the project altogether. No playable build of the game has ever been released, but the game's soundtrack was released by the game's composer, Dean Evans.
What do you fight for?
Infinite Crisis was a multiplayer online battle arena video game, also known as a MOBA, that was released in 2015 in collaboration between Turbine Games and Warner Brothers. The game was meant to cash in on the success of other popular MOBAs, such as League of Legends and Dota 2, but the game did not perform well and was very short-lived, being online for less than 6 months before being completely shut down. Since the game was online only, and Turbine Games shut down the servers on August 14th, 2015, the title is no longer playable, meaning we only have video to show what once was.
Postopia was a website created by Kraft Foods and post-consumer brands in 2001 that was home to a huge number of browser games based on cereals, such as Fruity Pebbles and Honeycomb, along with games based on a variety of other franchises, such as The Fairly OddParents, Polar Express, and of course, DC Comics. In total, there are 2 games based on DC properties, Justice League Comic Builder and Batman Training Academy. The Justice League game has been archived, but the Batman game has not. In 2019, a developer of Postopia Games gave the Lost Media community 43 of the lost games. However, Batman Training Academy was not included and is still lost today.
The 2XL is an educational robot first developed in 1979. The robot is considered among the first smart toys and was an important step for educational entertainment. In 1992, Tiger Electronics developed the next model of the robot, known as the Tiger 2XL. This model made use of cassette tapes that would be used to play trivia and choose your own adventure games. These games include titles based on Marvel and DC characters. Due to the cassettes being used by children and how easily they could be erased with a magnet, many of the games cannot be found today. Of these lost games include two Superman titles, Superman the Man of Steel New Hero in Town and Mayhem in Metropolis. But I personally have found eBay listings for both of these games, so I'll keep you posted. Perhaps the most bizarre subsection of lost Batman films are the lost unauthorized Filipino Batman movies of the 60s and 70s. For most of these movies, I cannot confirm they are lost, but in my efforts and the efforts of others to search for these films, they have all come up empty-handed. So here are the obscure Batman films of the Philippines that might be lost. The 1965 film Alas Batman et Robin, not to be confused with the 1991 film Alas Batman and Robin, kickstarted the numerous Filipino Batman movies of the 60s and 70s and actually predates Adam West's performance as the character. The movie stars Bob Soler as Batman, who is known for playing Captain Barbell and an unauthorized version of the Phantom. I could find no plot details, footage, or stills from this movie, and only the film's poster can be readily found online. 1973's Fight Batman Fight features the entire Bat family and the Joker, with Victor Wood playing Batman, Rod Navarro as Joker, Roderick Palate as Robin, Lotus Key as Catwoman, and Pinky Montilla as Batgirl. One source claims the movie features the group traveling to Hell to fight Satan. If true, this would predate the 1975 Bat Family issue number 1, where the group goes up against a demon from Hell. Just like some of the other lost Filipino Batman movies, the film's poster is all that seems to be left. Next is 1967's Batman Fights Dracula. The film's plot revolves around a mad scientist who revives Dracula, controlling him with sunglasses, of course, leading to a face-off between Batman and Dracula, where Batman obtains the sunglasses, takes control of Dracula, and defeats the evil scientist. Batman is played by Jean Abalos, and Dracula is played by Dante Rivero, who is still acting as of 2020. Only a handful of stills of the movie exists, and no footage has been discovered. The movie is considered by some to be one of the most sought-after lost Asian films. This series of Filipino Batman films all feature actress Virginia Aristorinas and her real-life son Robin, who was 8 years old at the time, as the titular characters. The first film in the series was 1972's Batwoman and Robin, followed only 2 months later by its sequel, Batwoman and Robin Meet Queen of the Vampires. The following year, the duo reprised their role one more time for the 1973 film Johnny Joker. Of these 3 films, very little information exists outside the cast, but we do have stills from the trilogy. Of all these obscure Filipino Batman movies, I could only find footage from James Batman, a James Bond Batman spoof.
So ist das also. Wir sind so eine Art Suicide Squad.
Following the successful fan effort to release the Snyder Cut of 2017's Justice League, director of Suicide Squad David Ayer confirmed a similar thing happened to his version of Suicide Squad, where studio interference led to a version of the film that was cut and modified to create a lighter tone. Just like the changes in Justice League, they were mandated by Warner Bros. And rushed into production due to the negative reception of Batman v Superman in an attempt to course-correct the franchise. This is evident in the $22 million reshoots that were done to the film in mid-2016. Ayer went to Twitter to voice his dissent, stating, "Imagine if Todd Phillips' film The Joker was reshot and recut because it was too dark. This is exactly what happened to Suicide Squad. Anyone who says my cut did not work owes me to say it directly to me." Ayer further elaborated that his soulful drama was beaten into a comedy. Perhaps one of the biggest casualties of this reworked film was Jared Leto's Joker, who ended up with only 4 minutes of screen time, despite Leto claiming he shot enough footage as the Joker for an entire movie. Hopefully the Snyder Cut will prove successful, leading to a release of the Ayer Cut.
Here we go.
Christopher Nolan's Dark Knight trilogy is remembered for reinvigorating Batman on the big screen after the failings of Joel Schumacher's Batman and Robin, bringing us one of the best incarnations of the character yet. Despite the trilogy's huge following, director Christopher Nolan has released almost none of the film's deleted scenes. There exist at least 13 scenes and a rumored 4-hour cut that have never been released to the public. One scene left out of the final cut is infamous for resolving a minor plot hole in The Dark Knight. The deleted scene in question shows the Joker leaving the party after throwing Rachel Dawes off a building where Batman rescues her. In the final cut, it's left unclear what the Joker does after throwing Rachel. Of these deleted scenes, only one has been released, while only screenshots of the others can be found in various books and documentaries. Batman Meets Godzilla was a cancelled 1966 movie meant to star Adam West. The idea for this unusual crossover came after the success of 1962's King Kong vs. Godzilla. The studio behind the film, the Toho Corporation, wanted Godzilla to cross over with another popular American franchise. There were 2 different scripts that were pitched, but both were turned down. One American pitch and a completely separate Japanese pitch written by Godzilla writer Shinichi Sekizawa. The American treatment is currently archived at the American Heritage Center at the University of Wyoming, but the Sekizawa treatment has never been found. Batman Forever was director Joel Schumacher's first attempt at a Batman movie. Though it's a sequel to Tim Burton's Batman Returns, Batman Forever is notable for its studio-mandated changes to create a lighter tone in order to boost merchandise sales, very similar to what happened to both David Ayer and Zack Snyder. With the release of the 2005 Collector's Edition, a number of dark, alternative, and deleted scenes were included, leading to speculation that there were more deleted scenes and maybe even a completed darker version of the film. The long-standing rumors of this dark version were finally confirmed by Warner Bros. In July 2020, days after the death of director Joel Schumacher. But Warner Bros. Stated they have no plans to release the at least 11 lost deleted scenes or the 170-minute Schumacher cut. Andy Warhol was an American artist best known as a member of the pop art movement in the 60s with his iconic art of Campbell's soup cans and Marilyn Monroe. The artist also experimented with a number of film projects, including his 1964 movie Batman Dracula. Just as the title suggests, the film features Batman and Dracula, both played by underground film director Jack Smith. The film has only been screened in its entirety a handful of times as part of Warhol's art exhibits, but the book Our Kind of Movie, The Films of Andy Warhol by Douglas Crimp, states that the movie was left abandoned and unedited, meaning that what was shown was likely not Warhol's finished vision. Parts of this unfinished movie were used in the 2006 documentary Jack Smith and the Destruction of Atlantis. Clips from this documentary were combined and remixed in an attempt to recreate what Batman Dracula might have looked like, though they only had about 40% of the film to work with. Since the director of Jack Smith and the Destruction of Atlantis had access to the film to use in her documentary, it's likely that the rest of the film still exists but has yet to be released. Warhol described the film as an homage to Batman, but the film was not authorized by DC Comics, making an official release unlikely. Sadly, we may never know who truly gave the best performance of The Dark Knight. Scalped was a 2017 TV pilot based on Jason Aaron's 60-issue comic series of the same name. The pilot was pitched to WGN America and was set in a Native American reservation featuring an all-Native American cast, but the network chose not to move forward with the series. Those who have read the show's script seem to agree the pilot did not have the same grit or nuance of its source material. Creator of the comics, Jason Aaron, stated in an interview that he does not know if the pilot will ever be released, meaning it could be forever lost. Powerless was a sitcom that aired on NBC in 2017, created by Ben Queen, best known for creating the show A to Z and writing the screenplay for Cars 2 and 3. The show is based in the DC universe but is not taken directly from any particular comics, but instead focuses on original character Emily Locke, played by Vanessa Hudgens, who's the director of research at Wayne Security, a company owned by Wayne Enterprise. Other notable actors in the series include Danny Pudi, Ron Funches, Alan Tudyk, and Adam West as the narrator of the pilot episode. The show was picked up by NBC but was cancelled for unknown reasons, likely due to the show's poor quality. However, the pilot episode that aired is very different from the show's critically acclaimed first pilot that has only been seen publicly at San Diego Comic-Con in 2016. In this version of the show, the characters were insurance claims adjusters specializing in covering against superhero collateral damage and were not associated with Wayne Enterprise. It's been speculated that the show was changed in order to establish a stronger connection to the DC universe, such as making the company associated with Wayne Enterprise. Following the pilot, a second pilot was made and the show was completely reworked, with Ben Queen leaving the series and with reviews for this second pilot being much less positive. Today, only clips of this supposedly superior pilot can be found. Hopefully, someday the episode will be released as part of Powerless's home media or streaming release, and we can see the show as it was meant to be.
Holy ball and chain!
Ball and Chain was a 4-issue series released in 1999 by Homage Comics, who is owned by DC Comics. The comics follow a soon-to-be divorced couple who obtain superpowers that can only be used when they are near each other, forcing them to work together. The pilot has gone unaired and was not picked up by any networks, with only the pilot's script being available today. Another attempt to adapt the series for TV was made in 2010 for the Sci-Fi Channel, but never got off the ground. Recently, Netflix has acquired the rights to the series, and an adaptation featuring Dwayne Johnson and Emily Blunt is currently in the works.
Batman the Animated Series is considered among the greatest animated TV shows of all time, and is notable for being the first to cast Mark Hamill as the Joker, an iconic performance that Hamill has reprised in numerous TV shows, movies, and video games. But Hamill was not originally cast in the role. The part of the Joker in the 1992 series was originally given to Tim Curry, but he was forced to step down from the role after coming down with bronchitis. It's unclear how many episodes Curry voiced before being replaced, with some sources claiming 4 episodes, and others claiming he voiced the entire first season. Curry would voice additional characters in the show, including an animatronic clown in the episode Be a Clown. It's been speculated that the laugh used for the clown was taken from recordings of Curry's version of the Joker. Today, none of Curry's audio from his time as the Joker has been released, and at this point, it seems unlikely that it ever will. Nudes acted as bumpers for the Cartoon Network from 2008 to 2010. Bumpers are typically used in children's television to let the audience know that the commercials are over and the show is about to begin. Nudes were essentially faceless dolls that would use the design of whatever Cartoon Network character they needed for the bumper. For example, if an episode of Chowder was next, nudes featuring characters from Chowder would be used. Though there's been an effort to preserve these bumpers and many more like them, there are still 30 nude bumpers from Cartoon Network that are still lost, including the Teen Titans Up Next bumper voiced by Beast Boy actor Greg Sipes. There may also be lost bumpers featuring the Teen Titans from Boomerang and Kids WB, but there is so little information on them that I honestly can't even prove they are real. In 1983, Hanna-Barbera attempted to pitch an animated series to NBC based on the new Teen Titans. The series was rejected by NBC, but Hanna-Barbera's new Teen Titans were used in collaboration with DC Comics and Keebler to create an anti-drug PSA. The PSA was sponsored by the White House as part of kits distributed to schools across the country. Due to licensing issues, the PSA could not use Robin, and he was replaced with an original character called the Protector. The commercial itself was 60 seconds, with 2 shorter versions being made. The PSA was fairly standard for the time, showing a boy being offered drugs, but before he can accept, the new Teen Titans show up and tell kids to say no to drugs. The PSA is estimated to have reached 20 million children through schools across the US, but only 18 seconds of the PSA has survived with no audio. and it's unknown if the complete version or a shorter version with audio exists. Since there's no audio, the voice actors are unknown, but it's rumored that Cyborg was either voiced by Ernie Hudson or Bumper Robinson.
Despite the success of Sesame Street since its first episode aired in 1969, 60 episodes and numerous clips of the show have gone missing. When it comes to Batman, Sesame Street has a long history with the character, having appeared in numerous early episodes, including the TV show's very first pilot. However, one of the show's many lost segments includes a piece of the show's 99th episode titled Clean and Dirty. The segment is reportedly 51 seconds long, with Batman teaching kids the difference between clean and dirty. Only stills from this episode exist, and based on these stills, it appears that the skit was about a member of the Penguin's gang being on the lookout for Batman through a window, but cannot see Batman coming because the window was dirty. Batman then enters and cleans the window, showing the gang how dirty it was. Mike Henry was an American football player and actor known for his roles in Tarzan, Smokey and the Bandit, and MASH. But before landing these roles, he almost played Batman. In 1964, Henry was considered for a role in a Batman TV series predating Adam West's iconic portrayal of the character. This version was meant to be more serious than the 1966 version we know, but before the show could be made, DC Comics acquired the TV rights back from CBS and made their own TV show with ABC, leading to the classic 1966 Batman series. Production of the Mike Henry Batman series got as far as taking publicity stills of Henry in costume, all of which are now lost. Here's a fan mock-up of what Henry might have looked like as the character. OK K.O. Let's Be Heroes is a 2017 Cartoon Network show about a superhero named K.O. who wants to be the greatest superhero in the world. In the Season 2 episode Crossover Nexus, the villain attempts to destroy all heroes from the Cartoon Network universe. This leads to a team-up of heroes like Garnet from Steven Universe, Ben from Ben 10, and Raven from Teen Titans Go, who is, of course, a character from DC Comics. It also includes a number of cameos from other Cartoon Network shows, such as Courage the Cowardly Dog, Robot Jones, and Adventure Time. The episode was originally 22 minutes, but the network forced the production team to cut it down to only 11 minutes. Since the episode's release, the creator of the show, Ian Jones-Quartey, has released storyboards of the cut content. The complete story and the voice acting has yet to surface. However, in July 2019, a video was released on Instagram showing Jones-Quartey discussing the lost parts of the episode. Frustratingly, the video cuts off before he shows an unaired clip of the episode. In a Twitter post, Jones-Quartey stated that the entire episode was rebuilt from scratch rather than simply cutting sections, leading to an entirely different episode than what the team originally envisioned. If you are interested in learning more about the cut episode, I would highly recommend reading Jones-Quartey's tweets. They are very interesting and cover way more than we have time to cover in this video. Link in the description below.
Thank you so much for making it to the end of the video. If you know of any other pieces of lost media associated with DC Comics, please let me know in the comments or find me at Twitter at LostMediaMike. This is Mike and Molly with All Things Lost. See you soon.